And that's one of the challenges, right? Because you're always evaluating what happened yesterday, and what you need is what's going to happen tomorrow. So that's a struggle. Yeah. So there are strategies. Every 100 million pounds and they're different. Right? They range differently from everyone, but and from country to country. To be fair, different countries have different tax laws, so different vehicles. But from your point of view, at the sort of normal end, I'm not going to call it the low end because I'm in that boat as well. It's as tax efficient as you can get it. That's where you start. You use all the tax efficiencies, and then you step up into different things.
Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. And well, this is a new part about the Pingdemic, all right? Because under the Pingdemic, there are different things that we can talk about. And now we're going to be talking about the Pingdemic effect. How exactly has it affected England, all right? That's what we're going to be talking about. So make sure you stay tuned. Make sure you share your thoughts and opinions with me because I would love to hear whatever it is that you have to say, all right? Don't forget to do that. Don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions with me because like I said, I would absolutely love to hear your thoughts, your opinions, your experiences with regard to this. All right. So you can text me on 078 and get in touch with me because I would love to hear whatever it is that you have to say. And don't forget to share your thoughts and opinions with me as well. All right. Now, something else you can actually do is to go follow us on our socials. You can actually go like us on Facebook and follow us on Instagram, Twitter, and TikTok, and make sure that you're always updated about the very latest in terms of science, health, technology, entertainment, finance, whatever it is that you want to be updated about. You can be updated about literally anything and everything with us right here on Relax Radio. All right, so don't forget to do that. And don't forget to download our app either, which is available on both the Apple App Store and the Google Play Store. That way you can actually make sure that you are listening into the conversation live from anywhere in the world at any time of the day. And I don't think it honestly gets any better than that, so don't forget to do that. All right, and now let's actually get into our conversation because we're going to be talking about how exactly the pandemic has affected a lot of other parts in England. Now, for example, one thing we really need to talk about is transport, right? Now, some mainline railway signal locations are in fact at a critical level, or they're in critical levels because of the staff shortages that they've had to face. All right, and this is according to the RMT union. So trains and buses across England have actually been cancelled at short notice, and several tube lines were also forced to close down because of staff not being able to report to work because of COVID-19. Right, and this is because all the staff that were there in control rooms and signaling stations have had to self-isolate because of the ping that they received from the NHS COVID-19 app. All right, now something else that you can keep in mind, or something else that was affected because of the ping, was also the councils. Now, garden waste collections have actually been hit very hard in parts of England because councils are struggling. Right now, Liverpool City Council actually suspended garden waste collections for a fortnight after 1 in 4 staff reported absent for reasons related to coronavirus. Right, so that's about 25% of the staff being unable to report to work because of because of the virus. So it's important for you to keep that in mind. It's important for you to still remember that if essential services, if essential workers are finding it hard to go to work, then in no way is it completely all right for, or it doesn't mean that the situation is completely good and nothing bad is happening for you to go out and always have fun and pretend like the pandemic is over, because it's honestly not. So if you're going out, make sure you take those necessary steps. You wear your mask and you wear your mask and you social socially distance. Now, the Bristol Waste also suspended the garden waste collections for 10 weeks after reporting a significant reduction in drivers due to a national shortage and the impact of the pandemic. So, councils in Norfolk, Sandwell, Coventry, and even Lancashire had also reported these problems. All right. And in terms of healthcare, hospital bosses have also said that staff has had to isolate as that has affected their ability to deliver care. And this was because they've had to self isolate and whatnot, right? And they also said that this was a huge matter of urgency because even now, even at the moment, the NHS actually has to deal with a lot of other diseases in addition to the pandemic, right? So dealing with all of that, and they can't really afford for staff to get sick. And I heard even in some areas in England, all of these health workers who were supposed to get a holiday, or who were supposed to, or who had taken a few days of leave, they were actually asked to postpone their leave and take it some other time because the hospitals were in fact flooded with like so many people. All right, so make sure you keep that in mind before you do things that might affect a lot of people, because it is actually very selfish for you to not think about how everyone else in the country is getting affected because of some of the selfish things that we do. All right. Now, make sure you stay tuned because right now we're going to head into a small break. And after that, we will be back to keep talking more about this. But until then, make sure that you stay tuned. Welcome back to the show. It's your girl Sarah right here on Relax Radio. And it's in fact the final few minutes of this hour. But don't worry, because Hebe and I will be here in the next hour to make sure you're always informed, you're always updated, and we are keeping you updated with amazing conversation about the very latest in England. All right. And not just in England, but in fact all over the world as well. So get in touch with me on 078 Share your thoughts, share your opinions with me. But I want to very quickly head back into the conversation because there is still a lot left for us to talk about. All right, now another part of the country, or should I say another institution or another sector that was actually very much affected by the pings and the pandemic also was schools, right? Because more than 1 million state school pupils in England have actually missed school because of coronavirus related reasons. Okay, and this was according to figures that was released by the Department of Education. All right, basically all of these kids had to miss school because of coronavirus related reasons, because they couldn't go to school and they couldn't actually get on with their lives, because not necessarily get on with their lives, but rather they couldn't actually get on with their education, to put it that way, because of the changes that were made, because of how people were asked to self isolate during these times, right? And this was just school children, right? And if you actually think about it, the numbers are much much bigger if you think about kids in terms of other places, right? So like I said, it's important for you to keep in mind that when you're heading out, that you're taking all the necessary precautions that you have to take, because if you don't, you're putting a lot of other people at risk, right? Like people, like children who are going to school, children who are studying. And like if you actually think about it, kids have missed out on their education for a while now, right? So it's important for us to remember all of these things when we're going out and having fun. All right. Now, retailers are also warning of severe staff shortages, with at least 10% of workers and up to 30% in some shops walking away, or rather self isolating from their jobs, right? Because of that ping, because of, so many people testing positive, they've had to actually self isolate. And this has actually resulted in severe shortages of staff in retail outlets, right? So, with disruption to deliveries and thousands of shelf stackers and other staff isolating, some supermarkets are also running short of supplies, right? So you can understand this is basically when people in America had the toilet paper crisis, right? That's what it looks like right now. So it's important for you to keep all of that in mind. It's important for you to remember all of that when you're going out, and think to yourself, look, don't do you actually want to go back to that situation that we were in a few months back, when this pandemic initially started and we didn't know what exactly it was? Do you actually want to go back to square one? Because I definitely don't. All right. So always keep that in mind. Remember that as well. All right. Now, in manufacturing, factories across the United Kingdom are in fact struggling to operate due to hundreds of staff actually being off at once, right? And with some plants on the verge of shutting down and even others cutting output, right? So, since we're trying to boost the economy, since we're trying to rebuild our economy and make sure that we have a lot of, say, we have a lot of, we have a good economy and we have a good GDP, if it's going to be really hard, if people are going to be isolating, if people are going to be staying at home instead of coming to work, because in places like manufacturing you actually need people to come to work to actually do it, right? So always remember to keep that in mind as well. Now, in terms of hospitality, industry leaders actually believe that as many as 20% of all staff in the hospitality sector, which employs more than 3 million people nationwide, are actually forced to isolate at any given time, right? Which means that a lot of people will have to isolate in their jobs, like suddenly, and this is simultaneously as well, which means that it's going to be very hard for these for these hotels and whatnot to function, because with tourists coming into the United Kingdom once more, it's going to be very hard for them to put up with this demand, right? So with whole teams being pinned at once, or even in pubs, in restaurants, and even hotels, they've actually been forced to temporarily close because of the shortages that they have. All right, so remember to keep that in mind. Make sure you stay safe, and make sure you are taking the necessary steps that you have to take, because I will be back in a few more minutes with